Greenwich Village, with its charming streets and vibrant history, has always been a place where the past and present intertwine. Nestled in the heart of this bustling neighborhood is an old mansion, a relic of a bygone era that stood as a silent witness to the village's history. For years, it was just another historic building, until whispers of a dark past began to surface. The mansion was said to be haunted by the spirit of a vengeful baron, a malevolent presence that lingered within its walls. Our story begins with a group of friends, drawn to the mansion by a mix of curiosity and the thrill of uncovering the unknown. We had heard the tales of the baron's ghost, but we were skeptics, dismissing the stories as mere folklore. Little did we know that our adventure into the mansion would turn into a night of terror that would change us forever. This is our account of the horrors we faced, the courage we discovered, and the battle to free the mansion from its dark history. Join us as we recount the haunting of Greenwich Village and our journey into the heart of darkness.
We had always been fascinated by the legends that swirled around Greenwich Village, but it wasn't until one particularly wild night that we decided to delve into the mystery ourselves. The famous Bloody Baron's mansion had always been a topic of conversation, filled with ghost stories and tales of cursed happenings. Fueled by liquid courage, our group of university friends set out to explore the mansion, laughing nervously as we walked through the dark streets. Whispers of hauntings and revenge filled our heads, making the shadows seem more sinister with every step. As we approached the mansion, its looming structure seemed to breathe with a life of its own, shrouded in an eerie darkness. The legend had it that the Baron's spirit still lingered, seeking revenge for his untimely death. We pushed open the creaking door, the air inside thick with the musty scent of decay and something else, something metallic. Our laughter died down as the chilling reality of where we were began to set in. The flickering flashlight beams cut through the gloom, revealing the haunted interior. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with a sense of the supernatural. The walls seemed to close in on us, their surfaces marked with deep, ominous scratches. Our exploration quickly turned from a daring adventure to a frightening ordeal as we discovered old photographs strewn about, each stained with what looked alarmingly like blood. Every creak and groan of the mansion seemed to whisper warnings, feeding our growing terror. The shadows seemed to move of their own accord, adding to the horror of our situation. We found ourselves in a room filled with dusty old books and crumbling diaries, remnants of a life long extinguished. One diary in particular caught our eye, its pages filled with chilling accounts of the Baron's cruelty and the unspeakable acts he committed. The more we read, the more we realized that this was no ordinary haunting. The spirit we were dealing with was one driven by a thirst for revenge, a ghost that was trapped in a cycle of blood and terror. The chilling tales within the pages made our blood run cold, and we began to question the wisdom of our midnight exploration. Each new discovery heightened our fear, and we started to feel as if we were not alone in the mansion. Nightmares of the Baron's ghost and the cursed mansion plagued our thoughts. We had come seeking thrills and answers, but now all we wanted was to escape. The mansion's dark history was more than just a story. It was a living nightmare, and we were trapped within its chilling embrace. The more we explored, the more we felt the presence of something sinister lurking in the darkness, watching, waiting. With our nerves on edge, we continued to explore the mansion, every creak of the floorboards sending chills down our spines. In one of the dimly lit rooms, we found what looked like an old study. The furniture was covered in a thick layer of dust, and ancient portraits lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow us as we moved. It was here that we discovered the first tangible evidence of the mansion's dark past, scratches etched deep into the wooden walls, as if someone or something had desperately tried to escape. Among the clutter, we found relics of a bygone era, blood-stained handkerchiefs, rusted tools, and an assortment of old photographs. Each photograph told a story of happier times, now overshadowed by the ominous presence that pervaded the mansion. One photo in particular caught our attention. A portrait of the Baron himself, his eyes cold and lifeless, staring directly at us. The sight of these artifacts filled us with a sense of dread, as if the walls themselves were whispering tales of horror and bloodshed. As we delved deeper into the mansion, we stumbled upon a series of diaries hidden away in a secret compartment. The pages were yellowed with age, but the ink was still legible, chronicling the Baron's descent into madness. His writings were filled with accounts of supernatural encounters, each more terrifying than the last. He spoke of whispering shadows and vengeful spirits, of a curse that had befallen his family. The realization that we were dealing with a spirit driven by revenge became undeniable, and fear tightened its grip on us. The diaries painted a picture of a man tormented by his own actions, his soul trapped within the walls of the mansion. Each entry was more disturbing than the last, describing gruesome rituals and blood-soaked nightmares. It was clear that the Baron had not found peace in death, and his spirit lingered, seeking retribution. The haunted expressions of the old portraits and the eerie silence that surrounded us amplified our terror. We had unearthed a dark secret, one that we wished we could forget. Our minds reeled with the implications of what we had discovered. The evidence was irrefutable, the mansion was cursed, and we were now part of its twisted history. The more we read, the more we felt the Baron's presence, his ghostly whispers echoing in our ears. The chilling reality of our situation began to sink in, and we realized that we were no longer just visitors in a haunted house. We were participants in a supernatural horror that had spanned centuries. The contrast between the vibrant streets of Greenwich Village and the dark, oppressive atmosphere of the mansion was stark. By day, the village was full of life, cafes buzzing with conversation, artists displaying their works in charming little galleries, and tourists snapping photos of historic landmarks. But as night fell, a different side of the village emerged, one steeped in mystery and legend. The stories of the Bloody Baron's mansion were whispered among locals, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. We visited the local library, hoping to find more information about the mansion's history. The librarians, though initially reluctant, shared old newspaper clippings and historical records. These documents painted a grim picture of the Baron's reign of terror, detailing disappearances, unexplained deaths, and sightings of a ghostly figure in the mansion's windows. The more we learned, the more we understood the gravity of the curse that had befallen the mansion. Each piece of information added to the chilling puzzle, deepening our fear. Our conversations with longtime residents of Greenwich Village were equally unsettling. Many had stories of their own, accounts of eerie lights flickering in the mansion at night, whispers carried on the wind, and shadowy figures glimpsed through the windows. One elderly man, his eyes clouded with age and fear, told us of a night when he saw the Baron's ghost wandering the streets, his face twisted in a mask of rage and sorrow. These tales, combined with our own experiences, made the haunting feel all too real. Despite the picturesque charm of the village, the mansion cast a long shadow over its history. We walked the cobblestone streets, passing by quaint shops and bustling markets, all the while feeling the weight of the mansion's presence. The juxtaposition of the village's lively exterior and the dark secrets it harbored was unnerving. We couldn't escape the feeling that we were being watched, that the spirit of the Baron was always one step behind us, waiting for the right moment to strike. The more we uncovered, the more our fear grew. The mansion was not just a relic of the past. It was a living entity, feeding off the terror of those who dared to explore its depths. We had become part of its story, drawn into a nightmare that seemed impossible to escape. The vibrant streets of Greenwich Village now felt like a facade, hiding the true horror that lay within the mansion's cursed walls. The line between reality and the supernatural blurred, and we knew that our lives would never be the same. Our investigation was not without its challenges. As we delved deeper into the mansion's history, we encountered resistance from some of the villagers. There were those who wanted the past to remain buried, who feared what might happen if the truth were fully revealed. One night, as we were leaving the library, a group of men confronted us, their faces hidden in the shadows. They warned us to leave well enough alone, to stop digging into things best left forgotten. These confrontations only fueled our determination to uncover the truth. But the mansion itself seemed to have other plans. We began to experience supernatural occurrences that tested our resolve. Doors would slam shut without warning, whispers would echo through the halls, and shadowy figures would appear and disappear at the edge of our vision. Each incident left us more shaken, our courage waning with each passing day. The strain of our investigation began to take its toll on our group. Tensions ran high, and we started to argue over the smallest things. Accusations flew as we questioned each other's motives and sanity. It seemed as though the mansion was sowing discord among us, feeding on our fear and mistrust. The once tight-knit group of friends was unraveling, and the atmosphere grew more toxic with each passing hour. The supernatural incidents escalated, culminating in a terrifying encounter one night. We had split up to cover more ground, and I found myself alone in one of the darker corners of the mansion. As I turned a corner, a ghostly figure appeared before me, its eyes glowing with malevolence. I froze, unable to move or scream, as it slowly approached. Just as it reached out to touch me, one of my friends appeared, and the figure vanished into the shadows. We were left shaken, our fear now mingled with a deep sense of dread. We regrouped, our resolve shaken but not broken. We knew that we were on the brink of something monumental, that the answers we sought were within our grasp. But the mansion was fighting back, using every trick in its haunted arsenal to deter us. We were now battling not just the spirit of the Baron, but the mansion itself, a cursed entity determined to keep its secrets hidden. The line between hunter and hunted blurred, and we realized that we were no longer in control of our own fate. The mental strain of our ordeal began to take its toll. Each night, we were plagued by vivid nightmares that left us gasping for breath and drenched in sweat. In my dreams, the Baron's ghost would visit, his eyes burning with a vengeful fury. I would wake up feeling as if I had been watched, the oppressive darkness of the mansion seeping into my very soul. Our fear became a constant companion, lurking in the corners of our minds, ever present and insidious. As the days passed, the mansion's influence on us grew stronger. We felt a constant sense of being observed, as if the walls themselves had eyes. Paranoia set in, and we began to distrust one another. The slightest noise would send us into a frenzy, each shadow a potential threat. Our once light-hearted camaraderie was replaced by a tense silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts, haunted by the specter of the Baron and the cursed mansion. The psychological toll was evident in our behavior. We jumped at the slightest sound, our nerves frayed to the breaking point. We began to see things that weren't there. Ghostly figures flitting through the corners of our vision, whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. The mansion's grip on us tightened, and it felt as if we were slowly losing our minds. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, and our sense of self began to erode under the relentless assault of fear. One of our friends, Jake, was particularly affected. He had always been the most skeptical of us, dismissing the legends as mere stories. But now he seemed to be unraveling. He spoke of seeing the Baron's ghost in every shadow, of hearing his whispers in the dead of night. One morning, he was simply gone, his bed empty and cold. Panic set in as we realized that the mansion had claimed one of us. The fear that had been simmering now boiled over, threatening to consume us all. With Jake's disappearance, the mansion's power over us became undeniable. We were trapped, both physically and mentally, within its cursed walls. The psychological torment was relentless, and our fear grew with each passing day. We were no longer just exploring a haunted house. We were fighting for our sanity and our lives. The spirit of the Baron was real, and it was determined to exact its revenge. The chilling reality of our situation sank in, and we knew that we had to find a way to escape the mansion's grip before it was too late. The turning point came one night when we gathered in the mansion's grand hall, determined to confront the Baron's spirit once and for all. The room was oppressively dark, the air thick with an unnatural chill. Our flashlights flickered and died, plunging us into darkness. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of our own ragged breathing. It was then that we felt it, a presence, cold and malevolent, watching us from the shadows. Without warning, the room erupted in chaos. Objects flew off the shelves, crashing into the walls with bone-rattling force. The temperature plummeted, and our breath came out in visible puffs. The Baron's ghost appeared before us, his face twisted in a mask of rage and sorrow. He moved with a fluid, otherworldly grace, his eyes burning with an unholy fire. We were paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak as he advanced upon us. In a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of the grave, the Baron spoke. His words were a chilling mix of anger and despair, recounting the horrors he had endured and the vengeance he sought. He blamed us for disturbing his rest, for daring to uncover the secrets he had tried so hard to keep hidden. The mansion's walls seemed to close in on us, the very air vibrating with his wrath. We were trapped, our fear rendering us helpless in the face of his supernatural power. As the Baron raged, the mansion itself seemed to come alive. The floorboards creaked and groaned, the walls shook, and a deafening roar filled the air. It felt as if the very foundation of the house was being torn apart by the spirit's fury. We huddled together, desperately trying to find a way to escape the haunted nightmare. Our once firm resolve crumbled in the face of the Baron's wrath, and we realized that we were fighting a losing battle. In a desperate bid for survival, we made a break for the door. The mansion fought us every step of the way. Doors slammed shut, debris flew through the air, and ghostly apparitions appeared at every turn. But our fear had given way to a primal instinct to survive, and we pushed forward with a determination born of sheer terror. The Baron's spirit followed, his fury unrelenting, but we managed to escape the mansion's cursed grasp. Breathless and battered, we burst out of the mansion into the cold night air. The oppressive weight that had surrounded us lifted, and we felt a brief moment of relief. But the ordeal was far from over. The Baron's spirit lingered, his presence still palpable even outside the mansion's walls. We knew that we had to leave Greenwich Village, to put as much distance between ourselves and the cursed house as possible. Our once light-hearted adventure had turned into a nightmare, and all we wanted was to escape the Baron's wrath. We ran through the streets, our fear driving us forward. The once familiar landmarks of Greenwich Village now seemed alien and threatening, the shadows hiding unseen dangers. The Baron's whispers echoed in our ears, urging us to turn back, to face our fate. But we pressed on, driven by a desperate need to survive. The village that had once seemed so charming now felt like a trap, a place where the past refused to stay buried. As we fled, we encountered the villagers who had warned us to stay away from the mansion. Their faces were grim, their eyes filled with a mixture of fear and pity. They knew the truth, and they understood the price we had paid for our curiosity. One of them, The elderly man who had told us about the Baron's ghost stepped forward. He handed us a small, tattered book, his hands trembling. "This is the only way to end it," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You must put the Baron's spirit to rest." We took the book and continued our escape, our minds racing with the implications of his words. The book contained ancient rituals and incantations, methods to banish restless spirits and break curses. It was our only hope, our last chance to rid ourselves of the Baron's vengeful ghost. We knew that we had to return to the mansion one last time, to face the spirit and end the curse once and for all. Our fear was tempered by a newfound determination, and we prepared ourselves for the final confrontation. With the tattered book in hand, we made our way back to the mansion. The night was eerily silent, the village seemingly holding its breath in anticipation. We entered the mansion with a sense of grim determination, our fear giving way to a resolve to end the nightmare. The Baron's presence was stronger than ever, the air thick with his malevolence. We gathered in the grand hall, the book open before us, and began to chant the incantations written within its pages. As we recited the ancient words, the temperature dropped even further, and a chilling wind swept through the room. The Baron's spirit appeared, his form more solid and menacing than before. He screamed in rage, his voice echoing through the mansion. But we continued the ritual, our voices growing stronger with each word. The walls trembled, and the floor shook, but we held our ground, determined to see it through. The final words of the incantation were spoken, and a blinding light filled the room. The Baron's spirit let out a final, anguished scream as he was enveloped by the light. The mansion shuddered, and then, suddenly, everything was still. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and a sense of peace settled over the house. We had done it. We had put the Baron's spirit to rest and broken the curse that had plagued the mansion for centuries. Exhausted but relieved, we made our way out of the mansion one last time. The night was calm, the air no longer filled with the whispers of the past. We walked through the streets of Greenwich Village, the familiar landmarks now welcoming and safe. We had faced our fears and survived, and the village seemed to acknowledge our victory. The Baron's spirit was gone, and the mansion was finally free of its dark history. The events of that night left an indelible mark on us. We returned to our normal lives, but the memory of the Baron's mansion and the terror we had faced stayed with us. We had been changed by our experience, our bond strengthened by the ordeal. We found solace in the fact that we had freed the mansion from its curse, that we had put an end to the Baron's reign of terror. The nightmare was over and we could finally move on. The villagers, once wary of us, now regarded us with a mixture of respect and gratitude. They knew the truth of what we had done, and they appreciated our efforts to rid their village of the Baron's spirit. The mansion, once a place of fear and darkness, was now just an old house, its walls no longer echoing with the cries of the past. It stood as a silent testament to our bravery and the power of facing one's fears. As we moved forward, we carried the lessons we had learned with us. The experience had taught us the value of friendship, courage, and the importance of confronting the past. We knew that we would never forget the horrors of the Baron's mansion, but we also knew that we had emerged stronger and wiser. The village of Greenwich, with its charming streets and vibrant history, had become a part of our story, a reminder of the night we faced our deepest fears and won. Years later, we would occasionally visit the mansion, now a place of curiosity rather than terror. We would tell our story to those who were brave enough to listen, sharing the lessons we had learned and the importance of facing the unknown. The mansion, once a symbol of fear, had become a symbol of our triumph. The Baron's spirit was at rest, and we had found peace in knowing that we had made a difference. The nightmare had ended, but the memories remained, a testament to our journey into the heart of darkness and our ultimate victory over it. Life in Greenwich Village returned to normal, but the story of the Baron's mansion lived on. The villagers shared the tale with visitors, and the mansion became a point of interest for those curious about its haunted past. We moved forward, each of us finding our own paths in life, but we remained connected by the bond forged during that harrowing experience. The Baron's mansion had tested our courage, our friendship, and our resolve, and we had emerged stronger for it. For us, the mansion would always be a place where we confronted our deepest fears and won. It was a reminder of the strength we had discovered within ourselves and the power of facing the unknown together. The Baron's spirit had been laid to rest, but the lessons we had learned would stay with us forever.
Next time you find yourself wandering the streets of Greenwich Village, remember the tale of the Baron's mansion. Are you brave enough to visit it after dark? What secrets might still be lurking in its shadowy halls? We'd love to hear your thoughts and any eerie experiences you might have had in Greenwich Village. Leave a comment below and share your story. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more spine-chilling tales from haunted places around the world. Stay alert, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the past is just waiting for the right moment to reveal itself.